Right, welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Today we've got another update on the Rust movie shooting, tragedy, the Helena Hutchins shooting. Now, this one is very important. It's 2 days late, so I do apologise. But this is actually the first assistant director, David Halls, has come out and given a statement. Now, the statement itself is pretty blasé, pretty what you'd expect, right? He's obviously been told this by a lawyer. To say certain bits and pieces. I would imagine he does have a lawyer currently. We know that him and Hannah Gutierrez Reed, the armourer, have both lawyered up. Now, we're gonna take a look at this because this is the first time he's actually spoken since the whole incident. This man is troubled, very, very troubled. He's been fired from working with Blumhouse TV because they don't want anything to do with him, to do with safety issues, namely, well, a lot of issues, complaints about aggression, things like that. And it was on another movie where a gun went off as well. This is a guy which does not take safety seriously in any way, shape or form. So, let's dive into this today, ladies and gents. Now, again, thank you so much for bearing with me and this coverage. I know a lot of you have found it to be both informative and, well, just to the point, really, without any sort of bias involved, which I appreciate, so thank you so much. So let's take a look at this. This is, again, very important stuff. It's his first statement. His first statement. But it does seemingly contradict some bits and pieces that were previously said. And there's a little bit more information, but nothing major. But it's still interesting nonetheless. So the assistant director for the Western flick Rust is speaking out for the first time since the on-set shooting death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins, calling on the movie industry to reevaluate its values. That's right, ladies and gents. I didn't follow safety protocols, therefore, the industry, they're to blame. The gall this man has. The absolute gall. I genuinely can't believe that that's the statement. Anyway, David Halls did not address details of the incident or respond to previous reports that he was the one who handed the hot gun used in the deadly shooting to actor Alec Baldwin. So here's the statement. Helena Hutchins was not just one of the most talented people I've worked with, but also a friend, Halls said in a statement. Very, very just what you'd expect, right? Standard rhetoric. I'm shocked and saddened by her death, he said. It's my hope, and this is where the absolute gall. It's my hope that this tragedy prompts the industry to reevaluate its values and practices to ensure no one is harmed through the creative process again. How did we get... You're renowned for being unsafe, David Halls. What are you doing? Now, again, this is to be as down the line as possible. How do you go from handing someone a gun which you didn't check, which he's even said in his affidavit, right? The affidavit itself, quite literally, he quite literally says, he advised he should have checked all of them, but didn't and couldn't recall if she spun the drum. So he didn't even know if he checked the gun for rounds. How do you go from that to, oh, the industry must reevaluate its values? How? How on earth did you get to that point? How is that the point at which you achieve a statement? It's the mind absolutely boggles. Like it really is. And then he says this. Halls added that he's been overwhelmed by the love and support. My thoughts are with all who knew and loved Helena. That's right, ladies and gents. It's the industry's fault. It's the industry's fault that this non-union, I don't think he's part of a union. I can't remember the exact union it was. But this, non-whatever assistant director didn't follow protocols. It's the industry's fault. No, it's not. And this is what's really important to keep hammering home, and I've said this in a few videos now, is that the safety protocols in place do actually work. They do actually work. So many guns are on sets. John Wick. I mean, geez, like how many guns do you need? John Wick has them all the guns. The safety protocols work when you follow them. There hasn't been an on-set shooting since The Crow, a fatal one, since The Crow. In fact, David Halls was involved in another issue with another gun on another film. So no, David, it's not that the industry needs to reevaluate its values, it's that you need to reevaluate your values of safety. Because the safety protocols that are in place for a reason, and they work. So let's take a look at this. Santa Fe County Sheriff Adan Mendoza said last week investigators were still trying to determine how live rounds got on the set. I mean, pretty apparent to be fair, but never mind. According to search warrants released by authorities in Santa Fe last month, 3 people handled the gun before the shooting: Baldwin, Halls, and 24-year-old armourer Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, who was working on only her second film in that capacity. Sousa told police that safety protocols call for the armourer to hand the gun to the assistant director, who is supposed to check to ensure there are no live rounds in the weapon before handing it to the actor. That's the protocol. Remember, that's the protocol, but David Halls wants the industry to reevaluate its values. Halls told police he couldn't recall how thoroughly he checked the weapon. But it's the industry's fault, David. It must be the industry's fault that you don't know how thoroughly you checked that weapon. Very evidently not well enough because of what happened. I mean, subsequently, that's just a fact, isn't it? It's a cold, hard fact. David advised when Hannah showed him the firearm before continuing rehearsal, he could only remember seeing 3 rounds, he told detectives, according to an affidavit filed in Santa Fe County Magistrate Court. He advised he should have checked all of them, but didn't. But remember, the industry must reevaluate its values. Struggling not to get wound up by this one, I'm sure. I'm sure you are all quite frustrated. But didn't, and couldn't recall if she spun the drum. Still, an insider told the Post that 2 staffers on set told investigators they never saw Halls remove the gun from the armourer's cart during an investigation into the incident. The witnesses also denied that Halls had cooled the gun cold before giving it to Baldwin, according to the source. That's even worse, because it literally just means you're handing guns around without saying that they're hot or cold. That's even worse, even more damning. According to the affidavits, the gun was one of 3 on the armourer's cart before it was handed to a 63-year-old actor who was rehearsing a scene where he pointed the gun at the camera inside a church on the set. Gutierrez told the police she checked the dummies and ensured there were not hot rounds, the affidavit said. The young armourer's lawyer said last week she had no idea how live rounds got onto the set and complained that she was understaffed and undertrained and was ignored when she made safety suggestions. But we've already had a veteran armourer come out and say, no, I was offered this job and I turned it down because it was an accident waiting to happen. They wanted me to do 2 jobs or another person to do 2 jobs. You're not supposed to do that. And yeah, no, it was just unsafe. How do you not know how live rounds get onto the set? You obviously didn't check them. You obviously didn't check them. If that is part of your job and live rounds are in the gun, and your job is to check that gun, you didn't check it. Like, what? You know, that's a subsequent failing from both David Halls and the armourer. But then there's a failing even further from that, which is the producers, whoever hired these people, whoever wanted to keep the money down so much that they kept failing basic safety procedures. It's just an absolute shambles. And loads of people keep saying, well, Baldwin's to blame ultimately because he was handed the gun and he should always check it. Now that, I think, that definitely applies, 100% applies, but you also have to take into account that movie sets have their own safety protocols as well, which, you know, are signed, documented, contractual, right? He likely is not actually responsible in a contractual basis for that, if that makes sense. You know, there's a lot of red tape on these things. Well, obviously not that much red tape on this one, but you get my drift, right? Like, there are contractual elements involved which do remove liability from certain individuals, and he would be one of those people that liability would be removed from, because it has to come from other people first who are supposed to check it. Now, I'm sure, and I completely agree with you, that in other elements there are, of course, you know, the onus is on whoever has the actual weapon in their hand. They should be the one checking things. I get that, like, I agree, but from a contractual basis, you know, liability perspective, I'm unsure how liable he is, because I'm sure that there are contracts in place which remove him from any liability. But there you go. David Halls believes, ladies and gents, that the industry must reevaluate its values and practices, because he didn't follow them. The absolute gall, the ego, mental, shocking, absolute shocking statement. Makes you look like a class act moron. Sadly. Because we've had your statements before to the police. You don't even know you checked it. You think there were 3 rounds, but you can't remember if you checked it. I mean, god damn. Anyway, please do leave your thoughts down below. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.